Hi, I know it's a little bit dark. My name is Edi Soeharto. I am now will be speaking about leadership, but before that, I will just let you know that I'm at my daughter's room, and her name is Arum, and she's the one, but she's not here, so I can speak freely. Okay, let me start. What is a leader? A leader to me is like a conductor in an orchestra. You know, imagine you are attending a great orchestra, and what you see is the conductor. You know, he or she doesn't play any instrumental music, but he direct people. He coordinate them to make a good sound, so that enjoyed by the audience, applauded by the audience. That's leadership. There's a discourse whether or not leadership is born. Some other things leader is made, trained. Let me show you a research recently conducted by Center for Creative Leadership. Based on this research, they said that 19% of leaders are born, 52% of leaders are made, and the rest equal. And another things that I want to share also is that a big picture of this concept leadership is visionary. It is the projection of your personality and character to inspire people to achieve a goal or objective that is planned beforehand. You know, so to become a successful leader, you have to know yourself first. What is your strength? What is your weakness? And how you move, yourself before you move other people or direct other people. And secondly, you have to know the organization, what kind of organization you are into. Benefit. I mean, NGO, government, those things makes you different as a leader. And then environment, of course. When you are working, for example, at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, then your environment is the whole world. Regionally, also you are in ASEAN, things like that. And of course, lastly, but not less important, is that the people matters. You are not dealing with tools, you are not dealing with machine, but you are dealing with people. So you have to understand them. Now, to me, leadership is not a destination. This is a journey, and it's a set of skills, attitudes, behaviors that is needed to be practiced and mastered, so that, like the musician, you can make yourself comfortable in directing people. You can make yourself happy, so that all the people at the orchestra will see the whole thing happy. So it's really depends on the leaders. Currently in this international world that is changing. So changing is not a curse. Changing is part of the fact that we have to accept as a leader. We have to change our attitudes. We have to change our vision. you know, so that we can have a better uh, organization and effective one, of course. No, let's take a look at the ministry that I work. Um, at the very top of the leader at the ministry, that is the minister, I think it is difficult for us to set a rule or regulation or characteristic, for leader, because this is decided, this is assigned by the president, so it's a political appointee. Now, what we can do is level, the lower level, for DG or director. As we understand nowadays, we have ISN, the civil servant law, that regulate how these leaders are chosen, assigned by the minister, of course, but also through a certain way of uh, selection. But there is some room that we still can have to make our organization more effective, to make the attainment of the goal of the organization is easier. Let's take an example of the ASEAN department, for example. Okay, so in order to be a director for ASEAN, I think we should, set a criteria. For example, number one, for those who wants to be a director of, for example, ASEAN Cooperation for Economic Affairs. Number one, they should have 2 or 3 years experience dealing with ASEAN issues. Why? This is important because if you have been dealing with this issue beforehand, it is easier for you to customize your behavior, style of um, um, recommendation that you want to put forward for your minister, for example. And if you have this experience, it is easier for you to expand your network with your dialogue, for example, with other ASEAN countries, as well as with dialogue partners. And of course, having ASEAN that we understand is the ASEAN way all this works. This experience is important because you'll get used to it. You know already how the negotiation works, for example. You know already how the language that they are using, and you know already some friends. And then, secondly, I believe you should have, this historical background understanding of ASEAN, because by having this knowledge, it's easy for you to digest the information. ASEAN is very huge commitments, let's say. Even if you take a look at any ASEAN books, there are like hundreds of abbreviations. How can a newcomer, for example, manage this abbreviation and this whole bunch of ASEAN cooperation? So this is important. Know the philosophy, know the background, know the history. For example, in dealing with um, energy security, this is since 1980s, and now working quite advanced, but still we are negotiating on certain issues. Well, basically that is my sharing about leadership, and in particular how probably it works in our ministry. So again, to be a good leader, you have to understand yourself, You have to understand the organization, the objective, and the goal that they want to go. And also, of course, you have to know very well the people, so you can empower them. You can make them, better someday than you. So thanks again, and good night.